Welcome to the second segment of our webinar series exploring how to serve clients during major life events on their wealth management journeys. I am Charlotte, Chief of Staff at Bento Engine, and today I am with Bill to talk about a topic that is most relevant to you. So Bill, let's dive into the question of today. How does rethinking customer segmentation make an economic difference for the advisor's practice?
This is a fun question to answer, Charlotte, because it allows me to focus on the advisor's natural question, well, what's in it for me if I adopt the Advice4Life value promise and business model? So let's get right into it by making a broad generalization about advisor consumer segmentation strategies. And if an advisor is honest with themselves, if they were to strip down their strategy at its heart, this would still be valid. They basically serve two customer segments, pre-retirees and retirees. And we know this because across the industry, you hear, for most of the clients I serve, retirement planning is financial planning. And to qualify the consumer as a potential client, most advisors use some sort of investment dollar threshold. And we know that because many training pundits have been promoting that if the advisor wants to grow their business and work less hours, the way to do that is to work with wealthier and wealthier clients and offload your C clients to junior advisors. Now, some advisor coaches tell advisors to find their ideal client based on demographics like divorcees or veterinarians or athletes, and then go after the ones that can meet their minimum account size. And of course, the advisors eat that vision because that orientation is all about the internal orientation to the market that they have, which is, here's what I do and what I charge, so who can I find to sell it to? So here's a provocative thought. What if you looked at consumers in a different way and oriented yourself to ask, what does the consumer need and want? And what can I offer that will help them get that job done? Because consumers intuitively know what they need and what they'll seek out to buy. So how does refining the customer segmentation play into this for the advisor? Well, let's recall the universal customer need we identified in our previous segment. So that looks like this. Every person needs and wants help and advice to respond to the expected and unexpected events in their life. They want to do that in real time and throughout their life. And the advisor that can offer expert help and advice with a process to respond to any life event can create a value promise that addresses this universal need. The advisor can deliver against that promise if they have a disciplined process for responding to any life event that's then supported by expertise specific to each life event. We suggest a four-step process that really helps the client respond to life. The simplest way to imagine this is when a client is experiencing an event, the advisor turns to their credenza, pulls down the life event kit, which has everything the client and the advisor needs to know about responding to that event, and then uses the kit in a four-step engagement process. We'll cover this more in an upcoming webinar. So for client segmentation purposes, let's look at a consumer's life as if they were on a journey. We can see that because many life events cluster together at predictable times, we can segment customers based on the stage of life and the life events that will need a response. In the example shown here, we created 5 categories of life stages by identifying groups of events that a person at a point in their life journey map were most likely dealing with. There's nothing special about the labels we gave them. What's special about this life event segmentation approach is that if you know the life events, the segments most likely needed to be responded to, you also know the specific and distinct needs of every event for each segment. So instead of trying to convince people they need your old bundled up AUM offer that includes the proverbial kitchen sink from financial planning, you can show them a product and service set that demonstrates you know what they need now and what they'll need in the future. Because each life event takes a different level of effort to address, you price the help to respond to each event differently, which of course means the offer to each segment is priced differently. Now you clearly can show the distinction between what and how you're serving each and every different life stage. This makes it easier for the client to understand and accept multiple service packages that match the different life stages within their household. You can create an offer for the household's college student that's priced profitably because it's based on the advisor's level of effort. Now, instead of having a relationship with a client and doing goals-based planning for a household, all bundled up under one AUM fee, you can disaggregate that household into their own distinct relationships and offer those services that they happen to need at each of those lifestyles. In this example, you turn one relationship based on an aggregated net worth where you charge one fee into 5 different revenue streams. But let's take this example further, because after all, capturing a college-age kid who's probably only needs about $900 worth of your time and expertise each year is hardly exciting to most advisors. So let's look at what the segmentation approach can mean to the advisor over the life of a household's relationship and the power of intergenerational relationship cycles to understand the full economic value of the clients already in their practice. For our example, why don't we use a family of 5 people, and they're going to be made up of grandma, who's age 80, mom, age 50, dad, 58, a daughter who's 20, and a son that's 18. And currently, the advisor manages dad's investments and retirement accounts and charges them an annual AUM fee, which also happens to toss in financial planning for free. Now, let's say the advisor's typical, and everybody knows that the research says that the advisor will probably lose that account when dad dies. So assume dad dies at 78. And between now and then, the average AUM fee is $8,000 a year. We all know that the most that account can produce for the practice then is $160,000 over the life of the account. Now, what if we capture the rest of the family with revenue from the Advice4Life event offer? This chart shows the potential cumulative cash flow from the Advice4Life approach, serving everybody in the family over 50 years, compared to just dealing with dad when he lives for 20 more years. Working only with dad generates an average yearly revenue of $8,000, but it's double that if the whole family is served, because over time, even though mom and dad go into asset distribution mode, mom will keep the account with the advisor after dad dies, and the children are going to move into more complex financial life stages, meaning they're going to need more help and graduate to higher level services and fees at every new stage. Remember, if you're only working with dad for AUM fees, that account will never be worth more than the fees collected until he dies. Imagine that you have 100 households like this in your practice. Serving clients in this way doubles your potential cash flow without bringing on a single new household. Now that gets advisors' attention. I promise you, Apple and Tim Cook know exactly what the full economic value of each and every user and their families are in the Apple ecosystem. So it's time to start thinking like Tim. And just for grins, if you adopt this approach to segmentation and you decide to sell your practice, imagine the difference in your conversation with a potential buyer. I'm not selling you a business that generates X number of fees likely to shrink and then disappear in 20 years because the majority of my relationships are clients in their 60s. I'm selling you established cash flow that will grow over the next 50 years because of the business model I have in place. Charlotte, you asked, how does rethinking customer segmentation make an economic difference for the advisor's practice? And I believe the challenge is to rethink who the client is and how to, and what to provide them. And that'll open up a whole new perspective on revenue opportunities. In our next webinar, we're going to cover the core universal deliverable to every client segment, the 4-step life event response process. You know, I specifically call that Bento engine as a resource in my white paper because of how it makes this transformation so much easier than an advisor trying to do everything themselves. Charlotte, you've got some ideas about how Bento engine helps advisors with today's topic, so let me pass the controls over to you.
Thank you for sharing that, Bill. We at Bento Engine 100% concur with this whole approach. Engaging the whole family and involving children at an early age will both increase financial literacy, but also grow your practice organically. This is why Bento Engine just launched its Children and Wealth program that helps advisors deliver relevant information and exercises to help the children of their clients grow up with a financial understanding. With the Bento alert in your CRM, you can now delight your clients by congratulating them with their child, for example, turning 6 years old, and giving them the tools on how to engage their child on the topic of money and financial planning. Bento gives you these tools to share with your client. So, for example, at age 6, we recommend giving your child a weekly or monthly allowance and introducing the concept of saving, spending, and giving. Want to learn how that could work for you? Please visit bentoengine.com and book a demo.